This is a quote I like. In the strictly scientific sense of the word, insolubility does not exist. And even those substances characterized by the most obstinate resistance to the solvent action of water may be properly designated as extraordinarily difficult of solution, not as insoluble. So in Chem 1A, we learned that, a bunch of different ionic compounds are insoluble in water. Well, not quite. Nothing's completely insoluble. I'm not going to quiz you on antifreeze, but this is a nice illustration from the book. Every year, thousands of cats and dogs die from ingesting antifreeze. So that's the coolant you put in your car. And sometimes, when people are emptying their radiator, they'll just dump it in the gutter, let it run down into the river. Not good. And it has a sweet taste. The active ingredient there is ethylene glycol. It tastes sweet. And so dogs and cats will sometimes eat it, drink it. And it's an alcohol. So the first symptoms of ethylene glycol poisoning resemble drunkenness. So it's like your dog's like acting drunk. What on earth? And that's the least of the problems. When the body metabolizes it, it changes into glycolic acid, which gets into your bloodstream and affects the pH of your blood, causes the acidity of your blood to increase. A lot of proteins in the body only function in a very narrow pH range, like 7.36 to 7.42 in humans. Yeah.
They started putting bitters in antifreeze because of this, and a way to treat antifreeze poisoning is to chug a bunch of strong alcohol.
That's right.
Ethanol competitively binds to the same receptor that ethylene glycol binds to.
Excellent. Yes, that's very true. He pointed out that now they've added bitterants, things that taste bitter. That's why propane smells so bad. Propane itself doesn't smell at all, but they put a little bit of something in there, natural gas as well, so that when it leaks, you can detect it with your nose. So many antifreezes, maybe all of them now, have this bitterant, so the animal tastes it and they're like, ew, I don't want to eat that. But yeah, if a person is suffering from ethylene glycol poisoning or an animal, the solution is to chug a bunch of ethanol, because ethanol competes with the ethylene glycol for metabolism and can help spare you from the results. Excellent, thank you. So how is your blood pH kept in such a narrow range? It's maintained by buffers. And a buffer is a chemical system that resists the change in pH by neutralizing acid that's added or neutralizing base that's added. So an important buffer in your blood is carbonic acid and bicarbonate ion. So carbonic acid, as the name suggests, is an acid and can neutralize added hydroxide. It will form hydrogen carbonate ion and water, so base neutralized. Hydrogen carbonate ion is actually amphoteric. It can act as an acid or a base. It is the conjugate base of this weak acid. So it can neutralize added acid, turning that into hydrogen carbonic acid. The problem is if you have large enough quantities of glycolic acid or other substances in your blood, it overwhelms the capacity of the buffer, and then the pH will drop to dangerously low levels. So low blood pH results in acidosis. You may have heard of ketoacidosis. So your blood pH gets too low, and this affects this affects all kinds of things, but it affects the equilibrium between hemoglobin and oxygen. So in a previous chapter, we talked about how hemoglobin works, how it picks up oxygen when the concentrations are high, and then it goes in your bloodstream to where oxygen concentrations are low, and it releases the oxygen. Well, if we have an excess of hydrogen ion, a low pH, that causes this equilibrium to shift to the left, and the hemoglobin doesn't want to pick up the oxygen. So then your blood is not oxygenated enough, and that's obviously a very bad thing. So that can cause hyperventilation. You know, your body's like, I'm not getting enough oxygen. I need to breathe some more. Coma and even death. So, as Robert so wisely pointed out, one treatment is the administration of ethanol, which is preferentially metabolized over the ethylene glycol.
Ethanol also can treat methanol poisoning.
Yeah, ethanol can be used to treat methanol poisoning too. Methanol is also super bad for you. It's sometimes called wood alcohol. And it's probably the biggest reason that they don't want people making their own alcohol.
Moonshiners used to go blind because of it.
Yeah. So during Prohibition, when you couldn't buy or sell or make alcohol, people would do it out in the woods. And they were called moonshiners. They'd have these stills. And a couple of dangers there. One is sometimes they exploded, and that would kill people. But if you don't distill the alcohol correctly, you can end up with methanol and ethanol, or, you know, way too much methanol. And methanol is very toxic and will cause you to go blind and then kill you. So, not good. So, many times the treatment of a toxin is to give something that competes with it. Give your body something else to chew on, right? And then the bad stuff can just pass through. Any questions?